Hey everybody. We can't hear them. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, now it should be working. Hey.
Can they hear me?
Okay, I think they can hear you now. Louder, louder. What do you mean louder?
Louder?
It's good.
Me louder?
A little low? No, it's good. It's perfect.
Okay,
I said it's
all right,
perfect. Okay, it's perfect. Just give me one
Yeah,
second.
dude.
Okay, looking good. So how you doing?
Good.
You doing good?
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. I love streaming from here, you know, and I've been like gathering some data on breakfast. So I gotta ask you,
breakfast,
yeah, on breakfast.
okay.
What is your go-to breakfast?
I'm either a protein shake or like an egg scramble type of person.
You can't go wrong with eggs.
Yeah,
Eggs, chat.
Yeah.
Eggs is really good. It's really good.
What did you say? What's yours?
I love a piece of pastry with a coffee.
That's
you know,
nice.
just the combination.
Yes, it's a good start.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What do you think about? Do you prefer sunny weather or cold weather out as it is outside?
Nice out usually. That's why a lot of us are here in California. You know, escaping some of those harsh winters. But it's raining, so I'm sorry for that the rain has come with your arrival.
Yeah, I think I kind of like brought the rain, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I like the rain. I like it a lot. Cool. How was season 9? Do you like it so far? How it's going and stuff?
I think the team's really excited about season 9 so far, and the result it's had. You know, we've been seeing a bunch of people jump back into the game, especially like do all their comp placements and everything, and the meta's been shaken up, kind of like on its head in terms of what we've seen over the lifespan of Overwatch 2. This is probably the biggest change in what heroes are viable and what's actually popping up. Some like true dive comps are showing up. We haven't seen that in quite some time. So it's been just an awesome time for the game. I think everyone's really we're seeing all the new things of ranked and competitive in the system there, and I think that's been doing really well. So yeah, we're really excited. There's some things we want to tweak, in the next few weeks on the hero side, but I think overall it was a really successful patch. We're glad that people are sort of seeing the vision for, the puzzle pieces that were all coming together, right?
Have you played since the season got released?
Of course, I did all my placements over the weekend.
What did you place?
Well, I'll talk about where I did five. It was like 5 and 5, 6 and 4, 7 and 3. So like a little bit above average, right? But it was a good time.
Let me just adjust this 1 second. Let me just put it. I think I'm gonna put it like this. Okay, it's better in full screen, I guess, for us. Let me just keep it like this.
Cool.
I'm a #professional content creator, Alec, so of course everything's gonna be like a little bit scuffed. Okay, this is looking great now.
Okay.
Looking great. You wanna dive into the questions? I have like
let's do it.
some.
Yeah.
Okay, so first I wanna ask you, who are the top 3 heroes by win rate in every role in season 9?
In every role in season 9, so it changes a little bit depending on like where you look at it. If you're looking at what we classify as like medal ranks / like Masters Plus, those are usually how we segment out some of our rank segmentations when we're actually looking at the data in that way. So we're talking about tank. It's like Diva doing very, very well across the board at both rank thresholds, right? We see Winston doing well at both rank thresholds as well. I think it differs a little bit. There's like Junker Queen does a little bit better at the lower ranks, but then at the higher rank, Sigma does better. So those are some things we see on the tank side. So Diva, Winston, Sigma, Junker Queen, see a lot of them.
I'm kind of surprised with Winston. Like I always thought that in the first couple of days he was kind of bad, but I've been recently seeing him being played a lot. I can definitely see why he's working. Just 3-2-1, jump in, not waiting, just to punish the backline.
Yeah, a lot of the mobility heroes are overall doing well, right? I think a lot of that's the DPS passive and how they can avoid it, things of that nature. Zenyatta and how they can get rid of Discord, things like that.
So like mobility is key in season 9 so far.
Especially in the tank role.
Especially
in the tank role. So we've actually seen Ball rise quite a bit too, right? We're seeing some compositions come together for him, but just in terms of like how his performance is doing, he's on the up, and we've seen that not just at the higher ranks. We're seeing that actually happen a little bit at the lower ranks too.
Everywhere. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of ball being played. I think this is the first ball meta we've ever had since Overwatch 2 got released. So this is what it took for him to like be played a lot.
Yeah, a big shakeup, right? And then you move over to damage. It's like Genji, Tracer, PHAR.
PHAR?
Yeah, PHAR is actually doing pretty well after the rework. And Echo is up there depending on what threshold you're looking at. But Genji and Tracer are
they're just amazing.
They're doing very well, and we're especially seeing that as we get higher and higher play. Tracer especially is very strong right now.
So the higher we go, Tracer is just incredibly strong, I guess.
Yeah, I mean she's while you can hit her more easily, she has a bit more health, so she can sustain a little bit more and survive some of that damage. Also, she does benefit from that projectile change in terms of like how she can pepper folks. So she's doing pretty well. Genji, I think one of the things that we were really happy with was that the change we made to Blade. So we actually upped the speed on it between each swing, and that's been doing well
faster.
with his neutral. And he doesn't necessarily need Nano Blade to get some of those. So it's the successive ultimates that they had in the past, right? So it feels a little bit better in the neutral than it did previously. But yeah, those two in particular are doing quite well.
And what about supports?
Supports, I think the overall one there is Zen and Lucio are both doing pretty well at both rank thresholds, no matter where you're looking.
So Zen and Lucio are like the top supports.
They're doing quite well, yeah. And and we're seeing competitions start to sort of be around either of them. They don't get played together as much, but we see like you might see Moira be the third in that lineup, right? Moira's appearing a lot with Lucio, sometimes appearing with some other heroes too, but she's actually probably third. And I think one thing that we didn't expect was how good she would be at higher ranks. She's been on the rise, just overall population-wise, but the higher rank she's sustaining that effectiveness, and that isn't something we've seen in quite a while, right? We've always seen her do pretty well, like at lower ranks, but she's doing pretty well at the top too.
Yeah, I feel like I personally enjoy Moira metas and stuff, and in the first couple of days, I think that people were trying out the infamous Lucio Zenyatta team comp kind of back and stuff, but right now I'm seeing like a ton of Lucio Moira, a lot of players are just locking them in, and I'm seeing like the potential over there, because there's so much damage from everywhere, and Moira can stay alive for a long period, and I feel like with Moira, you need a lot of elements to make her being played that much in higher ranks, because she doesn't have that much utility, but right now with so much damage everywhere, I guess she just works,
Yeah.
It's awesome. Who did you expect to perform better, and who did you expect to perform worse in Season 9?
Who do we expect to perform better? I would say one of the more surprising drop-offs for us was like the beam damage heroes in particular, like Zarya, Symmetra, and Mei in the sense, right? So, if you look at it, they don't really get a ton of the projectile size changes as other hero classifications may. If you were hitting the shots, it didn't give you that much more. You're already kind of hitting it. So some of their damage is not getting the throughput that it got previously. Sometimes they don't necessarily have enough ammo to actually finish off some of the kills. So I would say they're getting the least out of the big shakeup.
Out of the changes, the general ones.
And overall, their accuracy numbers reflect that as well. Like they may be getting 2 to 3% accuracy up, while some heroes may be getting 6 to 7. Right, so they're not getting as much overall from the whole package of what changed in Season 9. So those heroes in particular, I think the drop-off was a little bit harsher than we expected. I think one hero that's doing better than we expected is PHAR. I think it was going to actually take a lot longer for folks to adjust to PHAR, because it does feel very different. I don't know if have you had the chance to play it yet?
Yeah. So fast. I feel like it would take a long time to learn the mechanics and stuff. It just move all over the place. But I guess players are just picking up on her really fast.
Yeah, and we're really excited about that. It's almost like we're like waiting to see the full potential of it, but players are already playing PHAR at a very high level.
Is it across all the gangs? Like
yeah.
So it's not only like high.
Yeah, it was very interesting. We actually didn't see. I mean, she's almost like a completely different hero in terms of her mobility kit now, in terms of like the uptime and things like that. But we didn't see a big change in her performance. We did get some things to her. She has faster, the missile speed and things like that. But overall, we just expected a longer lead up time in terms of players getting used to her than what we are seeing. So I think internally it was like, oh, this is a giant shift for PHAR, and it really is. It is in terms of like how she's piloting, and she's not playing that skybox PHAR. You're not really seeing her as much with Mercy anymore.
Yeah, you don't need that Mercy with her.
Yeah, and we thought that was just going to take more time for folks to understand like how to play PHAR and what to play around PHAR, but it seems like they're adjusting pretty quickly.
All right, chat, can we get some W's in the chat for the PHAR rework? I'm gonna be honest, like we've seen like a lot of PHAR, and I feel like she does have a good impact for me. I'm not seeing her that much in my games, but when I'm seeing her, I don't know. I feel like she has the potential. Might take a little bit longer from my experience. Like if I have a PHAR on my team to go like, oh yes, we're gonna win for sure. Like I would have a Zenyatta guy now, but I can definitely see the potential there. And I think if I would want to start playing DPS kind of and playing PHAR, I think I would take me like some time to learn her. But definitely I would enjoy the gameplay way more than before, rather than staying in the back and just shooting it non-stop, Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what you're leaning into, right? Like a lot of times when we do these reworks, we want to sort of like focus in on a play style that we think is an optimally fun way to play the hero. And that was when we had seen players like actually kind of play that dive PHAR and get into the back lines and things like that. It's like, how do we enable more of the player base to play this way? Because we think
To
this
go in
is
front and
we think it's
involved.
one of the ways to really enjoy PHAR. It's also one of the ways where if you're going against PHAR, it's not as bad, right? It's,
Yeah, true,
it's not
true,
this
true.
like skybox thing that's happening and you're just like, well, we don't have the right composition. We're not limiting the effective hero pool of the enemy team. I feel like this is a bit more open in terms of what you can play against this PHAR too.
How did the projectile size buff impact accuracy compared to Season 8?
Yeah, so everyone's up, obviously. All the projectiles are
So
bigger.
everybody benefited from it.
Yes,
just that's-
everyone benefited from it. It just matters what sort of classification you're in. I think for a lot of heroes, like let's say Ashe and Cassidy, you're like 6 to 7%.
6 or 7%.
In terms of, and that's a raw number going up, right? Not relative, right? So, but then for shotgun heroes, it's like 2 to 4%. For our high spread hit scan heroes, it's like 3 to 5%. Those are like the Malgas of the world, right? In terms of the wrecking balls of the world, right? And then you have beam characters. We talked about that's like 2 to 3%, so a little bit less for them. But I think hit scan in particular is benefiting the most in that classification of like Ashe, Cassidy, Soldier, and then Widowmaker.
What about Widowmaker?
Yeah. Widowmaker's at some places like a 9 to 10%. Right?
So it's on the higher end of the accuracy
it's,
increases.
it's quite high. And one of the things that we find really interesting is this also changes of where you're in the game in terms of where your rank is, right? So we see the most benefit around like Plat, Diamond, Master in terms of accuracy increase, and then it falls off a little bit at Bronze, and it falls off a little bit at GM. Right? In GM, it's more, they were hitting some shots, but it's really it's really about the movement. It's really about the movement that's occurring, at that high level play. Bronze doesn't benefit as much as, say, Plat, Diamond, Master. That's where we're seeing the highest increases. And that difference is like 1 to 2% in terms of like how that differs. But at a Widow, we're talking like she scales a little bit differently, right? She actually scales even more at the higher end, like 3% more.
So you're telling me I'm really bad at Widowmaker. So statistically speaking, if I start playing Widow right now, I'd be landing more shots clearly?
Yeah, I mean, for a little bit of time.
For a little bit of
time. It's something we're looking at. We think it's a little bit too high than it is currently. So we're probably going to lower the projectile size there for Widowmaker.
Okay. Could you please raise your microphone a little bit higher up? Give me a second.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I don't know why it just goes down. Who is the surprise of the patch?
Surprises patch. I think another one's Moira. We talked a little bit about her earlier, but it's kind of makes sense though, right? So Grasp gets about a 30% increase in damage, and then everyone got like a 25% increase in health. So
it should be.
She's actually just better. Her time to kill and everything. She's doing quite well there. I would say I think surprising in terms of volatility, in terms of where some heroes, like how deeply some of them fell off. And in our next hotfix, we're going to be looking to pick some of these heroes up, right? So we see heroes like Junkrat and Roadhog that actually are struggling, right? But at the same time, we see heroes like Ball. I think going into it, Ball is one of those heroes that we didn't expect to see have such a rise so quickly in terms of where the meta went. We knew speed was really good internally. I think Lucio in particular was something we were like, okay, there's going to be a lot of like speed going on. But I didn't necessarily expect it was going to be with Ball in particular. Rather, like maybe it was going to stay in the Junker Queen aspect, this brawly sort of thing.
Like more like King Combs.
Ramatra, some of those heroes. So, but Ball in particular is like seeing a lot more play.
So, who do you plan on buffing / nerfing, and when will we be seeing the next patch?
Yeah, so we're targeting hopefully by tomorrow for our next hotfix.
Hotfix tomorrow?
Hopefully, yeah.
Oh my God, that's fast.
So one of the things that we're looking at in this patch is what are the outliers, but also like projectile sizes. How many of them are too big? Is really we're not buffing any projectile sizes. We're going to take some of them down, and then health. I think there's one here in particular that has too much health. That's Zenyatta. But overall, that's like Diva, Roadhog, and Diva and Mercy are in that department of, well, later on we might do some other changes to these heroes, but you know, Diva Pilot and Mercy Blaster, like those are this is really they're really big. You know, we want to go down on some of those.
So this would be like the last day in which I could go like full DPS mode with Mercy, I guess, if I can get some kills. Yeah.
I mean, it's still gonna be pretty big, right?
Still,
just not as big as it is.
Okay, good to know. I'm gonna play Mercy after.
So Diva, Zarya, we're looking at. We're also looking at Roadhog for DPS. It's a number of heroes like Junkrat, Hanzo. Junkrat's one of those heroes that's just performing quite poorly, so you know, bring him up a little bit. Looking at Tracer, you know, and in terms of her performance.
So it's kind of like a big hotfix.
It's bigger than we've normally done, but we don't want this to be a hotfix for like something we're instantly like buffing up a hero to make that hero meta or something along those lines. But it's really like, okay, what are some of the outliers that we're seeing, right? There's some others in there. I said Zenyatta's in there, Lucio's in there, you know, Mercy's in there. Awari, I think, is a hero that really needs a lot of help.
Yes.
So
please.
Yeah, so a little bit of help to her too. So it will be pretty sizable, and then we'll see how it all goes.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Are there any plans to adjust the DPS passive, or do you need more data?
Well, I think we need more time for, you know, players to really adjust and feel it out, you know, and understand how to play with it, how to play around it. So we're not going to touch any numbers of the DPS passive right now. It's a really important piece of just how the gameplay flows in Season 9. Mm-hmm. It is the thing that helps end engagements, right? Like, and it's actually one of the things we really enjoy about having it is that it allows DPS to feel like they're more aligned with what their role is. You know, they are the instigators of ending, you know, and getting kills, fights, getting eliminations, and that's where we want to position them. And I think that's been really successful. I think some of the things that we're looking at is just like, okay, is the number completely correct? You know, with time, we'll look at that. Also, visibility of it.
Yeah.
You know,
I think
there's some things we want to do there in terms of who gets to see this. It is something that comes on and off quite a lot, and the way we think about it is there's this hierarchy of who needs to know that information. You know, and like in terms of like how cluttered it can become. The person who shoots the enemy knows that it's applied, so they know that. They need to know that first, and they get that response, right? But then if you're affected by it, I think is like the next level down, and you need to know that. So we're going to be looking at just how we can apply that in your 1P and do it in like a subtle way, so it doesn't feel like there's something always like, you know, it doesn't need this giant effect, but something that's nice and subtle. So we're looking at that.
Would supports be able to see it too?
I think that's the next layer down. Yeah, right?
That's like the third one.
Yeah, I think that's like the next layer down in terms of the hierarchy is you're healing the person who has it on, right?
Yeah.
And we tested with some things like that with it in your 3P, and it did become like it started to felt like there was a lot of UI in place and very cluttered. We're going to start with putting into the person who's affected into their 1P. We think this will benefit tanks especially. And knowing when they're going to be like receiving less healing, and hopefully they take better positions and things like that, right?
So they're going to use that so that they're not going to go like, I need more healing, I need more healing. You have an explanation and stuff.
Or like know to maybe get around cover, you know, it's a little bit of information.
Theoretically speaking, would you be able to see it in replay maybe so that you know you can vote review it and stuff?
We'd have to look at that. I think you should be able to though. Yeah.
That would be great because like a lot of the times I guess tanks are going like, I'm taking too much damage, am I being healed, and then I guess that would be like an explanation for them to check it out afterwards. So you have this in mind with the visual indicator for the DPS passive, and right now you said like tomorrow with the hotfix we're not going to be seeing changes to the DPS passive. I guess just gathering more data, see if the nerfs, how the game's going to feel after the nerfs and the buffs and stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think like, you know, Zenyatta is like a really big player in the meta right now, and it's also, he has so much health that it can feel like, well, even when you like, what we want for Zenyatta is once you get to Zenyatta, that's not where Zenyatta can be as like survivable, and also he's so super survivable, and he has too much in terms of like actually being, I would say, a bit of a nuisance when you're next to him.
So
we're going to reduce the knockback on the kick too by a little bit because it's quite high. And I think for like heroes like Reinhardt and other heroes, like they get in and then
they just kick that away,
kicks them away. So we want to reduce that so he actually can start to feel like that glass cannon again. You get in and it's going to be Zenyatta. This is where he's vulnerable, right?
So it's like you play in the distance, but if you get close to Zen, he should die or at least need a lot of help to stay alive.
He'll still have that strong melee kick. It's not like we're not ripping it out completely. We're going to reduce the knockback, though.
You're not changing the icon either, right?
You'll still have the icon.
Okay, because the icon is super cool. Always loved, always wanted one. So now I have like some more general questions. Have you ever thought about implementing reworked out abilities into new heroes? For example, the old shield generator or Torbjorn's armor packs?
Yeah, I mean, we've played with things like that internally a bunch, where it's like, I really miss this ability. How can we bring it back? How can we build like a kit around it? I think one in particular that the team is fond of is, Arisa's old right click.
The pull.
Yeah, because two-stage abilities I think are quite difficult to get right in terms of you launch something and then it does something else and there's two inputs to it, right? That can be difficult to control, can be difficult to actually have readability on it, and we thought that actually did a pretty good job of it. So it's something I think we would totally explore again if we came back to it. Nothing in the works right now, but that's an ability I think the team is fond of.
That's like one ability that you all love.
Yeah, totally.
Who is the hardest hero to balance for every goal?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think it's, if we look at some of the heroes that we reworked, I think some of those were up there in terms of hardest heroes to balance. And the way I interpret that question would be, what heroes do we hear the most about in terms of, how good they can be before we start seeing people like getting up in arms about them a little bit, right? So like the Sombras of the world, the Doomfists of the world, things like that, where they can be a little bit more difficult to balance because of how players react to those heroes. I think also in the tank role, we were looking at, how some of those heroes can become a little bit easier to play with and around, and you feel good about it. Characters like Doomfist, like Wrecking Ball, they can be a little bit harder for some players to actually understand what to do with them.
You need like a lot of
coordination,
Yeah,
especially,
everybody
right?
has to be on the same page.
Yeah, yeah. So those can be a little bit more difficult. But I think some of the heroes we've seen that get reworked was either because of some mechanics that are very difficult to balance, like stealth, or one shots, right? Or combos in particular for Roadhog. Hook and then shoot, like hook, shoot, melee being the kill. That was pretty difficult, and once he lost that, he was really struggling, right?
What are you gonna give him afterwards?
So we reintroduced it in sort of this two-step way with the trap and hooking through the trap, and then you're able to shoot then. But it actually has just made him a lot easier to balance in that light as well, and also making some things like take a breather on a resource that opened that up too. So I would say I think Widowmaker is hard, but we think she's in a pretty good spot right now. And we're going to make a few adjustments here and there, but overall, I think she's in a really good spot at the moment.
What are some reworks that you decided against?
I wouldn't say decided against.
Postponed, maybe?
Yeah, postponed or like reevaluated what we want to do with those reworks. I think one in particular that comes to mind that we're looking at right now is Reaper, right? And it's about how big that set of changes is going to be one day, or how small it's going to be. We don't think we've played around with things like a right click on Reaper, like secondary fire, and it doesn't necessarily really fit completely. We we don't want to add buttons just to add buttons. We're still looking at like modernizing some of his other abilities, like Shadow Step. Like how can we make that a more interesting ability? How can we sort of like bring that ability into the future?
Into Overwatch 2.
Yeah. It feels like it's maybe a little left behind, right? So I don't. So it's really about us evaluating through iteration and times, like how big is this set of changes going to be? Because it could at the end of the day just be a change to Shadow Step, but it's a really polished thing that we want to do. We wouldn't call that a complete rework. We'd call that like an ability rework, right?
Like an update to it and stuff.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I think through testing, we kind of change what even our expectations of it. I think one of the things like going to Season 9 that we had sort of adapted, maybe we were a little bit too conservative with this from our team's perspective, was like the PHAR changes. One of the things we didn't call it a full rework. We specifically like didn't call it that when we were talking about it publicly and things of that nature. And we always looked at like an update or something along those lines, because there is a new ability, right?
Yeah.
There's the Jet Jazz, but a lot of times you're kind of playing similar too. Even though you have this whole new mobility suite, Farah still flies in the air, still shoots.
More of
right?
like a hero update, I guess.
Yeah. So it's one of those things too where we also sort of figure out like how we're defining these things. Like, what does rework mean to people? It means tons of different things.
Tons of
different people. So, I think the Sober one, I think everyone can agree that was a rework. But we'll see in time like how we sort of talk about these things too.
What is the most played role, at least in Season 9?
Yeah, so for Season 9, we're seeing a little bit of change. I think damage is getting more popular, especially as you move up in the ranks. I think for a while there, support at the higher ranks was the most popular role. But as we're seeing through Season 9, damage is becoming more popular at those ranks in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
it sort of does this, like, damage has always been popular at lower ranks, right? Especially like new players love to play soldier and like, heroes
everybody
like
just
that.
looks in DPSs, I guess.
Yeah.
I was a DPS main before, but
Oh,
then
really?
I realized,
Okay.
yeah, I played
Yeah.
Genji, I played some PHAR even,
Nice.
and then I saw that I was doing that good, and eventually I got bullied into playing support. But yeah,
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun. So like when I started the game, I also started DPS.
Nice. Yeah. So but what you'll see is, you'll see this trend where it's like it starts at damage and it starts to go down, and support starts here, and then they sort of like cross, right? But typically, like as we've seen like over course of Overwatch 2, now what we're seeing is like damage actually ends up staying higher. They meet a little bit in the middle, and then damage ends up being higher even at the highest ranks. So right now, damage is I think that's expected. They probably got the most out of this patch, and
Yeah.
I think their value and what they're able to, put their thumb on a fight and really like kind of turn the tide. That's increased, right? And we're seeing players really flock to that role in particular.
And I think I got just one more. Wait, let me just double check. Okay, just one more question. Will we be seeing in-game stats for heroes? Because right now we have to use external sites and workshop codes to see like how much damage we're seeing in-game, how much healing there is for a hero.
That's something we want to do. Definitely want to do. I don't know when we're gonna do it. I don't know. This is not even like started on this, but it's something we talk about a little bit, that we want some sort of like advanced F1 screen down the line, where you can stay in there. F1 screen still tells you like what the ability does in like a nice short sentence or two. And it's sort of succinct, and it's like, okay, I understand what my hero is supposed to do. And then elsewhere, we want to like show you fall off. We want to show you damage, but finding like
More specific numbers and stuff.
Yeah, and finding where this is a good place for that is, maybe it's like there's like a button in training room, or it's like actually it's just like a button here on the F1 screen that we can press, right? So we'll explore like what the best way to do that is. But I think as we mature, we want to make sure like players have tools in the game to actually understand what's going on in Overwatch. So that's one of the things I think would benefit there especially.
I can't wait. I can't wait to just press the key or whatever it's gonna be, and then like just see the numbers and stuff. Because a lot of the times I want to double check,
Hopefully, like, and this, as I said, like something, we're just like talking about it, right?
Just like planning. It's still in the planning phase, but it's something that you kind of want to do.
I think one day we want to do this, yes.
Okay, well, those were all of the questions, Alec. Thank you so much for joining, chat. Can we get some claps in the chat?
Cool.
This was absolutely awesome.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
and keep enjoying the patch.
Yeah, thank you. I can't wait to see tomorrow how it's going to feel. And maybe I'm not going to be playing only Zenyatta, Well, maybe I'm going to try some Widowmaker too. He gave me like that tip that Widowmaker right now is kind of like really strong and stuff. Maybe some PHAR as well.
Definitely. And I'm excited to see, for us to show you all the other stuff later on this week. So that'll be fun too.
Oh,
Yeah. All right.
wait.
Cheers, man.
Thank you. You have a good day.
Have a good one.
Thank you again.
Thanks, y'all.
Really fast. Appreciate it, Gavin.
No problem. Just got out of a meeting.
Was the meeting productive?
Yeah, it was over in like 2 minutes.
Oh, that's a productive one. You walk in, hey, hope
Yeah,
you're
good to
doing
see you again.
good. Happy to see you again. Thank you again for stopping by. Thank you for doing this.
No problem.
Oh,
Shouldn't
okay.
have this on. There's no reason to do that.
Yeah, we can just like talk to each other and stuff, the usual chat. Say hi to Gavin. The microphone. Oh, my bad. Okay, it is very important for you to have the microphone on, so I did press on it right now. It's
Nice.
working. Can you do some mic test?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Mic check, mic check.
Matchmaking is working.
Matchmaking is working.
We have that quote. We have that quote. It's on tape right now. We have the receipts. It's too loud. What do you mean it's too loud? Wait, give me a second. Maybe like this. Is it better now?
Testing. Oh, okay. We got the way too danks.
Is it good? It's fine. It's fine. Okay, dude. Like the microphone, I swear. Like I'm used to almost kissing the microphone. But I gotta keep it like this. This is actually pretty sensitive overall with the mic. So volume settings are good. We good to go, chat? We good to go? Yeah. I have a lot of questions.
I noticed.
You noticed?
Yep.
Okay. So, you like the sweater? Before we start, you like this sweater?
This is very similar to where I'm from. So yeah.
You love it.
It would have been
Fist
good
bump.
to. Yeah.
You're the only other person that I've talked to about a weather over here with this, and the other one that was like.
But this is not
Yeah.
normal for this place. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I brought the rain.
Maybe I did.
We did it together.
Maybe we're.
maybe.
Yeah.
We did it together. Chat, so I guess we just want to dive in.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm just going to read through this
Yeah.
just a little bit. So I have a problem with the rank screen. After I play the game, I press space a lot. You know, like I just finished the game and next, come on, next. I'm like, yeah, GG, endorse players, next game, next game.
Yeah.
And I skip the progress bar.
Yeah.
There's no way of me checking afterwards how far I am on that progress bar.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of an oversight on our part. So there's a couple of things. One thing we're definitely going to do is move the competitive screen first after competitive games, because obviously what you're seeing right now is you get in there and you see the progression screen first, but you just got out of a competitive match, so you'd prefer to see competitive first. It's like the most important reason why you were playing. But then also seeing the bar, yeah. So we definitely hear that feedback. We're talking about it internally right now. I think we would love to show the bar in more places. We don't have it on the schedule yet, but like we're trying to see what that would take to do. So I think we would love to show the bar. This is just, like I said, an oversight. It's not like we wanted to hide the bar. It wasn't. It's we will look into adding it more places.
Look into adding it. So
Yeah.
hypothetically speaking, I'd be able to, I don't know, just check it before a game
Yeah.
and see how far I am. Because
Yeah.
that actually, for me at least, does influence if I go for one more game
Sure.
or not.
Yeah,
You
we're
know?
totally okay with you seeing it any time. It was just we were so focused on it making that after-match experience better that we weren't. I would blame me honestly about not thinking
Don't
enough
blame
about
yourself. Come on.
about not thinking
You
about
can't
enough
think
about,
about everything. You know?
about the like out-of-match experience. So yeah.
Okay, that's a massive W. I can't wait to see that. Does the system look for groups of 4 or 5 players to match against other groups of 4 or 5 players?
Yes. So like there's a really complex like layers of priorities in matchmaking, and putting a group against a group is a priority it has, but it's just a lower one than MMR. So like basically MMR beats group if there's like if there's an opposing go ahead.
Solo duo and stuff like that versus a group. If the MMR is high enough, then it's gonna match against them.
It's about time. So like these preferences, imagine that they're sort of like a sand timer, where it's like one of them is like sort of bigger initially, and then the longer you're in queue, the weaker that preference gets. So with every passing moment, we care less and less about group size and more about MMR.
Okay, got it.
So that's why even after just a couple of minutes, it's possible that we preferred a more equal sized or more even MMR match than a more even group match.
Is there like a time that you wait?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like that's another invisible thing that we could look at talking about in the future, but there's a lot of complexity there because
got it.
yeah, there's a lot of simultaneous competing priorities for like what it is that we're trying to matchmake on, right? Eventually, once it gets long enough, once you're like you've seen it, I'm sure, when we get really low or really far into a queue, we start throwing everything out the window. We're just like, okay, it's just like, yeah, it's like at a certain point we're really highly prioritizing a game. The only thing we won't bend on entirely is like win rate prediction. So like win rate prediction can only get so far before we're like, actually, this isn't even a game. We know that the MMRs are too far apart.
It's gonna be a stomp, clearly.
Yeah,
So-
clearly. So, yeah.
Okay. Are there plans on adding a permanent team ladder now that GM players can stack?
So this is a thing we're talking about a lot internally right now. There's a lot of conversation around stacking. Some people are openly saying, they're not enjoying the season as much because they're playing against groups a lot as solos. In the very near future, we're changing the grouping restrictions. We've talked about that at BlizzCon. And one of the things we want to do alongside that is when you're playing in a wide 5, we always want to put you against a wide 5.
Wide 5.
Wide 5 stack,
So what would be like the definition of a wide 5 stack?
Well, I won't go into the exact specifics because those are
Yeah.
rules we'll drop as we talk more about the grouping restriction changes. But a wide 5 stack is one that is the members are at least like X distance apart in MMR. So basically,
Really far away.
yeah, far away enough that right now they might not be able to group, with the current grouping restrictions.
Okay.
So, something we'll probably also be doing for the high ranks is just considering their groups wide. So, letting you group up to 5, but even if you have a kind of all the same MMR, you'd still be in that wide category, which means you still have those downsides, like the potentially longer queue times and the potentially reduced match quality, because we want the solo experience and the narrow experience to be good. So, for those. Basically, for the solo players at very high rank, we want their experience to be good. So that's why we would classify groups in Champion or even GM as wide.
Okay.
So,
I'm
sorry, the
excited.
TLDR, I'm answering this in a really wordy way. We're kind of
No,
just
I got
building
it, I
that
got it,
into
I
the
got it.
grouping restriction. The thing you're asking for, it'll kind of just be part of ranked. It'll be like if you queue as a 5, you're basically going to face 5s. So
Okay.
yeah, unless you're a narrow 5, which is super odd. There's not many narrow 5s.
Yeah, like a full, let's say, stack team, you know?
Yeah, but they'd all have to be the same MMR, and they'd have to be below Grandmaster probably. So that's not super common.
Okay, okay. Are there plans to add a new tier, maybe below bronze? Because my ranked predictions are completely off. And like I've seen like some bronze players, I'm like, bro, they should be gold or stuff like that, you know? So
I don't have the most faith in Ranked Duel, but I think this is actually a Ranked Duel feature request maybe for them instead of us. Maybe Ranked Duel should let you actually choose division, because I agree that there is kind of a difference in like a bronze 1 and a bronze 5 game. I mean, you can see that. I think it's funny to talk about things like a plastic tier or cardboard tier or whatever, but like
plastic tier.
yeah, it's funny
Plastic
to say
tier.
that, but I don't think that we would probably ever do that. You know, I don't think that that's it's. You know, it's almost just being mean to bronze 5 players. And keep in mind, that's a very small percentage of the population now. Because before Season 9, we were in a situation where our ranks were kind of out of whack, where we had too many bronze 5s, we had too many GM1s. Like, the curve was kind of broken in a way that we didn't want. But now, bronze 5 is a lot more like the high GM ranks, where it is actually a really small percentage of the population in bronze 5.
So there wouldn't be like a lot of players that would drop out of bronze 5, theoretically speaking.
Yeah.
If you'd add a new tier like that.
Yeah, they're not there. I mean, what you would be doing is like creating a champion equivalent of bronze, and that's actually bad from like a psychological standpoint, because then it becomes a reason to throw. So like if you show that as a goal, then people want to peacock it. Essentially, they want to get that, and they want to say, "Look at me, I am cardboard 5 or whatever," and that's actually incentivizing throwing. So we don't want to do that.
So we're not gonna be seeing like a new tier coming soon.
Not below bronze, probably.
Not below
No.
bronze, probably no.
No.
Okay.
But ask Ranked Duel to add divisions to their guesses,
Yeah.
and then you've got a more fun
I
guessing
hope that
system.
they have like a feedback for
Yeah.
it. We definitely have to make a petition, you know.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
do that. Can you place higher than your predicted rank?
That's a complex one, because every time you play a placement match, the prediction changes, or pretty much every time. So, like, I guess if you were asking, can you place higher than your predicted rank on your 9th game? Probably not. You're probably going to place pretty much what it said on game 9, because it'll be at its most accurate at that point. But can you place higher than your predicted rank on game 1 of placements? Definitely. Super yes.
So the more you play, the more the system's like gonna know
Right.
exactly where you should be placed.
And the calculation updates, yeah.
The calculation. Okay. Mathematics.
Yeah, someone's saying in chat they placed higher. I mean, it is possible. I'm not saying it's not possible for game 9 not to place
But
higher than the prediction.
generally-
Generally, the prediction will probably be pretty close. It'll probably be within like one division of where you placed.
Got
So, yeah, that's true. It can happen.
When you draw a game, the progress bar doesn't move at all. But when you do placements, it counts as a placement game. Does that influence the MMR at all?
Oh, draws. Yeah, no, it doesn't. So this is a case where we didn't want people to feel trapped in placements with their draws. So this is just a weird placements game mechanic that doesn't really apply. Because, like, let's say I know it doesn't happen that often anymore since 2CP is gone, but, like, like the draws still happen on probably hybrid the most.
Very rarely. I get like one draw in 100 games.
Yeah, it's they are still pretty uncommon. I think it's like somewhere between 2 and 4% or something. Like it's pretty low. But anyway, it would feel bad if you got multiple draws and placements, and then you're just like trapped in some kind of placements, state where you can't just finish them. So we didn't want that to happen. So we still made draws move the progress bar, but they're not changing your rank.
So they're not affecting.
No.
So a draw is a draw, nothing changes.
Nothing changes.
Nobody wins, nobody loses.
Yeah, nobody gains anything or loses anything.
Apart from just spending some time together with
Yeah,
your enemies
yeah,
and with
yeah.
your allies.
Yep.
Wait. Okay, let me just scroll down. I'm sorry, Chad. I have like my list over here. Like I think Gavin just walked in and saw the list and was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, no problem.
This is a lot. Okay.
No. I'm gonna let you read the list. I'm chilling.
What is the average rating of a season 9 ranked player that just did placements?
So that one is kind of complicated too, because obviously we didn't just, have the placement system. We also had the ranked reset kind of, but it's like a soft reset where it's like doing the squish where it pushes people toward the middle, but then it also decayed people so that we increased uncertainty. So there's like multiple mathematical things happening there, which means it would be probably somewhere around gold 4, gold 5 would be
Gold
like
4, gold 5.
it would probably be somewhere in between there. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why I expected like I was gonna say like gold 3, so good to see that my intuition was like not that far off.
Not far off, yeah. And the reason you would be wrong any at all is probably because of the decay. Because the decay pushed everybody down a little bit too. Even though we push people toward the average, which is gold 3, or was, then we still have that decay, which people have to work back through. They have to kind of earn it back and earn the trust of the system back, essentially, by playing enough games and removing that uncertainty.
Got it. Is there a time in the season where you recommend players to do the placements? A lot of people are waiting for a couple of weeks for a gang to stabilize.
Oh, boy.
Do you think that helps? Is that a myth
boy.
or?
Short answer, the system works best when you play as often as possible. Long answers are really long answer. Do you want the long answer?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, let me get comfortable.
Yeah, buckle in. So what these people are basically saying is they're trying to smurf their own main, right?
Oh, wait.
I think that's what they're saying, right? I assume
Okay.
that would be what you're, because like basically they're thinking that if they don't play, that they will other people will move around them, and that they'll start playing and be able to make a bigger impact because they are not correctly placed.
Oh, okay.
Is that what
okay.
I think? That's what they're saying, right?
I guess so. Or maybe they're just talking about like the games. Maybe in the beginning of the season, just pure speculation. You know, maybe they're just saying that the games at the beginning of the season are go.
Yeah. Okay. So
We don't know the meta and stuff.
So there's a lot of things. There's decay. Decay keeps happening even after we did our like fake decay going into season 9. Well, I shouldn't say fake decay. You got really decayed as if you hadn't played for quite a long time. But obviously it was just days. I mean, we could have been playing at the end of season 8, and then we crossed the threshold into season 9, and then we say you haven't played for months. You know, that's what we're pretending, and then that means that your MMR goes down, and you have to earn it back, like I was just saying. So there's the decay thing, but then there's the real decay of not playing. Like, unless you're smurfing, if you're actually just waiting to play, you're getting worse, probably. Most people are. So, like, there is that to take into consideration, because we see a mathematical effect of not playing, you know?
Probably something to do also with like the meta and like if you're used to like
Right.
how the game
There's
is being
that.
played and stuff.
Yes.
You're
So
just watching.
Yep. If you're
the
just
playing.
watching and not playing, you're not feeling the damage passive and all that stuff. All the factors moving around you. There's the fact that even if it were true that your enemies are moving around you, then that means your teammates are too. So like, if you're coming in and then you're like getting mad at your supports for not healing you enough, or your tank for doing something you don't like, that would be super hypocritical to like to say that like, you know, well, my team isn't as good. Well, maybe that's true, and maybe you wanted that. Question mark. So like
They're
that.
so based with this, like incredible. Wow.
So
W's chat.
Yeah, there's that possibly, but then there's the fact that everybody's moving in unpredictable ways too, right? Because like you mentioned, people are like experiencing the system, and some people that were actually at their correct MMR are now having problems because they haven't adjusted to the gameplay changes, and now maybe they've moved down to the level that you're at, and so. Basically, match quality is best at the beginning of a season because that's when the most play is happening. Now there is a road bump here, or there's a speed bump here, which is that you know, at the beginning of this season we did a ranked reset, so like that does hit match quality. That we know that we predict that means match quality will be worse in some ways because when we do the squish, we put people in matches that we're not playing with each other. So suddenly there are expectations. You know, you got pushed down quite a lot probably because the people at the outer edges, the bronze and the grandmasters, would have come closer in, and so the bronze players would be playing with people that were a little better than them according to last season's MMR, and you'd be playing with people that were a little worse than you according to last season's MMR. So there's all that too, where, you know, the match quality is hit, and if you don't play early, then you're kind of waiting until less people are playing in the season, and then you're taking that bigger match quality hit, which means more randomness.
Yeah.
So it just means less predictable outcomes. So, yeah.
That was a very good answer. It wasn't like it was long, but it explained like a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So the answer is, I guess, I think you should play, but like, because not playing is kind of ultimately losing. But I understand if you think that's right for you, because it's complicated.
It's complicated. Like maybe
Yeah.
you just want wait a couple of weeks, and then you're gonna play with players that are probably not at the same skill level as you. And you feel
Maybe.
like you're gonna be like a hard carry.
Sure.
I guess.
But you're going to carry past your team's weakness too. So there's
That's the
questions there.
question. And then don't blame your teammates.
Right,
if
yeah,
you do that,
exactly,
you know?
yeah.
'Cause, like, bro, what do you expect? Like you waited, like.
Yeah, maybe, but that's not even guaranteed because like maybe other people waited.
True.
Like
Oh my God.
so like
It's gonna be-
yeah. So you could 4D chess your way into a game with people at exactly the same rank as you.
Too many
potentially.
variables.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think we were even halfway through them, by the way.
Oh no,
Good.
yeah. Oh well, I'm sorry. That one was just that's a can of
No, don't
worms.
apologize. I love that answer. Oh my god, clarify like so many things.
Yeah.
Are there plans to click directly on the modifiers on the bar to pop up an explanation with what they mean after the game?
No, there are not plans for that right now, but there are plans to add a screen where you can go look at the modifiers page outside of the end of round flow. Clicking on them is just not awesome for console because basically their end of round flow. It's easy to say to do that with a mouse and keyboard, but it really complicates the process when you have to move a stick around to highlight those things,
Yeah,
and
just
even the
round
discoverability of them isn't great with a stick. So, yeah, we're gonna make them more accessible in terms of seeing what they do, but I don't think we're gonna do like a hover over option if that's what
So
you're
we'll
asking.
be seeing them in game, probably like a separate tab or a page.
Yeah,
something like
they'll
that.
be part of one of the pages.
Part of one of the pages. Okay, so we get the explanations.
Yeah. So you don't have to go searching for it as much because
Yeah.
we noticed that's a problem.
Actually, just today, one of my motivators just made a command with all the modifiers because
Yeah.
I'm always asking what's constellation, what's
Yeah, and that was one of the hardest things about developing this was like deciding what to use to call those words, you know, because like when we say uphill battle, you know, a lot of players, I'm seeing this online, like when I'm watching people's Twitch chats and stuff, they're like, that was an uphill battle because it was an easy game. But that was based on the prediction. That's not based on what happened. That was based on the start of match prediction. And sometimes the prediction is nothing like you and I were talking yesterday, I think, about like how you'll see these really evenly matched contender teams stomp each other.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
And so like while the prediction, you know, could be very close mathematically, the outcome, because our game is snowbally sometimes, didn't look like that.
It also happens like in professional play, you know, like you
Yeah.
might have some teams that are evenly matched, but on one map, just one mistake,
Right.
one strategy, and then
They get
it's a
rolled.
stomp.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that they're not balanced.
Right, but it didn't feel that way, and so that's part of the feedback we're hearing, and that's a hard problem to solve because like you know we called it an uphill battle, and clearly it was a stomp in the other direction perhaps, and like that's confusing to people. That's just kind of like a design thing that we need to think about.
I don't know. I'm just looking at the Twitch chat emotes for a second over there. The
Yeah,
expected
Aaron's face with
constellation ones.
expected. Yeah,
I just love them.
yeah. Somebody actually linked those in Slack this morning. They're using
Yes?
the wide matchmaking. That used to be the wide matchmaking emote,
Yeah,
and they've added.
We also have that one.
Yeah,
Did Aaron see them?
I have no idea.
Oh my God, we gotta get him to see them.
Well, he probably saw them. They were linked in like a
I
channel.
should have made a shirt, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I see it. I'm on Twitch all the time, chat. So
Yeah, we always see Gavin in the chat.
Yeah.
Liz Winter. Does individual wait before this one actually, do win streaks and lose streaks matter in all rankings?
you mean in all ranks like bronze, silver, gold?
Yeah, and in GM.
They matter the same. They don't change based on rank.
So do we have like a number or stuff like that? Like how many games you got to win or lose? Do you see that?
So that one's a little weird to call. We went with win streak because it's the easiest way to talk about it. But the best way to conceptualize it is to think about, you know how the unranked leaver penalties work, where like you've got a 20-game window, and if you leave X games in that window, then you get the penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, so think of it more like a window like that, where we're looking at a window in time backward, and how many of those are wins. And if enough of them are wins, then we call it a win streak. I actually don't have that number memorized. Sorry, I can't give you that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like,
Got it.
basically, yeah, that's how it works. So that means because some people are seeing this thing where they're like dominating for a little while, and then they lose a game, and it was a game they lost by they didn't like they had modifiers that were positive. So like they'll be able to like 12% or something lost, and then they win their next game and they get win streak again. But they know they just lost their last game. So like, what is that? Like, why? So like the win streak effect is still happening because the window is still active because they didn't lose much in their last game, and they're still in this window where they've actually won quite a lot.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So win streak isn't a perfect word. It's more like internally we call
Win
it.
in an interval, I guess.
Yeah, we call it win factor internally, but like that's
Win
just
factor.
yeah, it's just kind of a weird way to say it, so we don't use
I
that.
like how it sounds, you know? I
Yeah.
got win factor. Active. Window.
Yeah.
Window. Oh my God, you should name it window. With caps lock. Window.
Oh, it's a pun, and you
Yeah.
capitalize the WIN. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that'll be-
Narrative would throw something at me. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'll be there if you want to pitch it.
Put you in front of them, so you take the hit.
I'll body block it.
Yeah. Okay.
Does your individual performance, talking about stats, influence your MMR?
No. Still no.
Still no. Across all ratings, so it doesn't matter.
Across all
if,
ratings.
If you have 100,000 damage in
No,
one game, doesn't matter.
Doesn't
how much.
matter. So in Overwatch 1, we had a system like that.
I remember, I think it was up until Diamond or stuff like that.
Yeah, well, initially it wasn't, and then we saw the problems with it, and so we had to like put it below. But like we kind of learned it was just putting out garbage data a lot of the time, like unreliable data. So I guess you remember probably why it got pushed below Diamond, the whole Mercy thing, maybe.
Can't quite remember it now.
So basically, we had this weird scenario where some Mercy players got really boosted because the system thought that their performance was very good, because it was looking at like healing numbers, and tends to be that the higher ranked Mercies heal less actually,
The damage boost.
because they're damage boosting. But the system kind of started associating that with success, and that wasn't always good. That they were healing less. Sometimes it means they're just not healing or doing anything. You know,
got
so
it.
like it started a scenario where basically it's really hard for a machine learning algorithm like that to like make correct predictions about somebody's rank, because there's a lot of context in the game that matters. What did they do with those numbers? You know, like having low deaths is great, but having low deaths because you hid in a corner, not great. You know, so like there's context that those systems can't really capture super well. So I think that's like
don't show everything.
yeah, they don't. They certainly don't. You know, I mean, we just made a joke about body blocking. How can a stat capture body blocking right now? I mean, there's nothing, you know,
True.
but it's actually super important. I mean, when those plays happen, sometimes they're game winning, you know? So like we don't have faith in that version anymore, but I think it's like a holy grail for us, actually. I think it's one of those things that's like, if we could make a version of it that we believed in, I think we would all love that. We're not there today.
Will we ever see a solo-only ladder?
That's kind of part of what we're doing with the the grouping restriction change. It's not a solo only ladder, so no, that's a cop out answer.
That's it also.
yeah.
We won't be seeing solo-only.
No, we don't have plans for a solo only ladder, but with the narrow grouping restrictions, the solos really are only playing against solos or legitimately narrow groups. So that means that there's a lot more like legitimacy and match quality in their games, because they're not getting those wide. They're not randomly getting the like max grouping restriction groups in their the current things they have today. Like if you're a plat player and you're playing with your gold friend, yeah, you would be able to play with gold. Then like those matches just aren't as high quality, and that wouldn't be able to happen once we move forward with the new grouping restriction changes, or well, removing grouping restrictions, but letting narrow play with narrow.
Okay, so it should be mostly like solo duo, I guess.
We expect to see a lot more quality for those players, but it is not. There's no plan to make it its own ladder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will we be able to see win percentages based on game modes? Like, let's say I think I win more on hybrid maps, but lose more on King of the Hill maps.
That's a cool idea. I will make a note of that, but we don't have a plan for that right now. That's like something you wanted to see in the profile, I assume.
Anywhere,
Yeah.
like I personally feel like my performance in King of the Hill is not that good compared to hybrid maps, and I'm seeing like a lot of people in chat also going like, I got Suravasa, New Junk City, and I don't know those maps that well, so I think my win percentage is 33%. I think it would be cool to like see if you perform good or bad on some maps, because then you can just check VODs or like strategies on those maps, and then you can increase your win rate and stuff.
Right. No, I think that's something we don't do super well right now, which is like giving people the tools to examine their own play. I think replays are awesome.
Yeah.
Like that, they're super, super helpful. But I would love to do more. I would love to give people the information that they could use to look for the improvements and things that they're not doing. So I think that's a cool idea.
What is the highest MMR that you can get if you have 100% win rate in Quickplay?
Yeah. So that one is a complicated question too. 100%. Wait. So you're talking
It goes
about
a
as you
single game.
transition from. So you've played 50 Quickplay games.
Yes.
And you win all of them, and then you transition from that to competitive, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
So that's complicated, because are you assuming you win all your placements?
Let's say so, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything just W nonstop. It's an impossible scenario, I guess. But
Yeah. You'll be very high rank. I actually don't know that one offhand, but it'll be so we're placing based on Quickplay MMR to some degree. We're using that as a baseline, but we're also doing something new in Season 9 where we decay you back a bit as you transition from Quickplay to competitive, because we're less certain that your rank is accurate, and we also have a cap on it. And I don't have that cap for you today, sorry. But yeah, it wouldn't be as high as it was in Season 8, that's for sure.
Got it.
Yeah.
Have these modifiers always been in the game, just invisible to the player?
Mostly, yes. There would be one we have right now that was not in the game, which is volatile. Volatile kind of speaks to, if I remember correctly, hopefully I'm getting the right name, it speaks to the concept of like demotion protection. Because basically there's this kind of like hidden demotion protection mechanic right now. It's not really supposed to be hidden. We're going to try to show it in the near future. But like basically if you rank up, your next game can't immediately rank you down. The one after that can. And there's some bugs with that right now. I know people have seen it where they get that like 0% progress thing. That's a bug with the sort of the demotion protection stuff. But volatile only exists because of demotion protection, and that's a new concept. So that one is new. But things like win streak, loss streak, aka win factor, loss factor, those have been in for many years. The concepts, the rare ones like reversal and uphill and things like that, those have been in for many years too. So those are concepts we've had for a very long time. Calibration also, yes.
How many modifiers can be active at the same time in a game?
Okay, I'm pretty sure I can answer this. Some are mutually exclusive, right? So win and loss are mutually exclusive. You can't have both. That's not possible.
Win streak, lose streak,
Yeah, exactly. So that's one, and then the 4 unusual outcomes are also mutually exclusive. So that's reversal, uphill battle, all those 4. The ones that are like you were favored to win and something happened, or you were favored to lose and something happened. So only one of those could happen. So that's 2. Volatile could always happen because you can be in that loss prevention state, and calibration can always happen because you can be in the state where you haven't played for a long time, or you just came out of a rank reset, in which case we did the decay that sits on you and causes that calibration modifier, which for a lot of players is going to be like 20 or 30 games potentially.
So like 3,
4.
I
I think 4.
4.
Is I believe it would be 4.
The highest one.
Yeah.
And I got one more question.
Yeah.
One more. So it has been highly requested for like I've always been saying that I want to see the number for the top 500 displayed below my portrait in game. Like
Yeah.
Is that any plans to bring that back? That's how it was in Overwatch 1, I think.
Yeah, we do want to do that. I don't have a time for you, but yeah, I think that is a cool thing. I think that's mostly good for the game, and there are like different versions of it, right? There's the version that only you can see and things like that. Still great for content creators, so that you don't have to fake the icon onto your
you can just like
profile.
Just put it there.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah. So I think we want to do that. I know we want to do it. I just don't know when that's going to happen
When
yet.
exactly
Sorry,
and stuff.
but we
Don't
would like to work
apologize,
on it.
It's fine. It's
Yeah.
all good. Wow, a lot of information. Oh my goodness. Thank
Yeah,
you
no
so
problem.
much for answering everything. This has been absolutely incredible. Chat, let's get a big out of claps for Gavin here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
chat.
no problem.
Did you like the interviews, the dev chat? I think it was awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say to chat and stuff? Just
No, thanks for playing though. Yeah, that is one thing. Yeah, it's because like Season 9 has been awesome, and like there have been so many players enjoying ranked again, and that's awesome to see. So I think we're just super grateful for people having a great time with it. Like and we're listening. We want to keep hearing the feedback, and this is a I think this is a version that we're pretty proud of, but we also see flaws. You pointed out some of the ones today. That we want to do better. So we will keep iterating.
Okay. Thank you so much again.
Yeah, thank you.
You have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you. See ya.